Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning. Welcome to our teaching session of webinar series Section of Industry brought to you by Faculty of Engineering UTM Johor Bahru. We are initiating university industry collaboration using recovery movement control order (RMCO) to have a platform for our Captain of Industry to share their thoughts, forward and challenges during post-COVID-19. Now we are streaming live from Facebook, Faculty of Engineering University Technology Malaysia. Today, we would like to welcome Yang Berbahagia Mr. Rajesh Purushothaman, Vice President APAC Manufacturing and Managing Director NI Penang. We've interesting topic today entitled Leadership in Today VUCA World. Without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Berusaha Professor dan Engineer Dr. Muhammad Rafiq Dr. Kadir, Dean, Faculty of Engineering, to introduce our captain today. Over to you, Dr.
Thank you, Murni. Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Muhammad Rafiq and I am the Dean of Faculty of Engineering, University of Technology Malaysia. Today, it is my utmost pleasure to welcome Mr. Rajesh Purushothaman, Vice President APAC Manufacturing and Managing Director NI Penang. A bit about our presenter today. As Vice President of Manufacturing for Asia Pacific, Raj Purushothaman leads the manufacturing organizations in Penang, Malaysia, and Shanghai, China. Since joining NI as an intern in 1994, Purushothaman has held several leadership positions globally and regionally in supply chain, new product introduction, manufacturing engineering, operations, logistics, and product services. He was the lead for the NI site selection team that picked Penang as the Asia Pacific hub for NI. He also serves as the managing director of NI Penang. In addition, Purushothaman serves on the board of Penang Science Cluster, an organization dedicated to the promotion of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education in Penang, Malaysia. Purushothaman holds a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering from the University of Calicut and a master's degree in operations research and industrial engineering from the University of Texas at Austin. So that is a biography of our speaker. Here now is Mr. Rajesh Purushothaman from NI with a topic on leadership in today's VUCA world. Mr. Rajesh Purushothaman, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammad Rafiq bin Abdul Qadir, Dean, Faculty of Engineering. A very good morning to distinguished faculty of UTM. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. So let's get started. If you can put the first slide up. So in today's, if you can go to the agenda topic. Next slide, please. So today I'll start off with a little bit introduction about NI. Hopefully most of you have heard about it. If not, be a brief introduction. We'll start off with what is a VUCA world, and then the leadership mindsets, that we need to have in today's environment, and then what is NI specifically doing, in this environment. Next slide, please. So one more. If there is a video, if you can briefly watch that.
Calling all creative problem solvers, pioneers, big thinkers, the groundbreakers, and science's greatest caretakers. The ones who stare down failure and say, not today. The ones who connect people and ideas and technology to engineer greatness. This is our moment to stand up and make a difference. Our world is living moment to moment in need of that next big breakthrough. So let's come together and do the things they say can't be done. Let's engineer hope for those who need it most and bring world-changing innovations to all of humanity. Because this is our moment to stand up, our moment to engineer ambitiously.
Thank you. We can go to the next slide. So our purpose is to engineer ambitiously. And when we talk about engineer, we don't mean like the the engineer. In today's world, all of us are engineering because the world is changing at a rapid pace. So our purpose is to help our customer to solve their problem, all the way from design to prototyping, all to manufacturing. Whatever the challenges that they have, we want to be able to be with them, and not only that, if we don't have the expertise, we want to be the connectors who bring the right people into the room to make sure our customers are taken care of. Which follows into our next slide, which talks about our core strategic vision. We are in the test and measurement business. Those of you who are not familiar with NI, we are one of the leading providers of test and measurement systems. And our vision is to be the leader, but not in just in any test and measurement systems, in software connected, automated test and measurement system. This is very important because in today's world, the software and hardware, it's very difficult to separate it. And that's our strength. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk about how we actually do that. What we call as our portfolio is software and hardware. We have very modular hardware, and we have development software, and they work very well together. And on top of that, we easily integrate to other third-party software and hardware. So it is very, plugged in, modular. And this is our approach. And this is what gives NI the differentiation in our market, because we have both the software and the hardware. And that gives us an edge to really, go, solve the specific problem the customers have. If you can, and in the next slide, we'll talk about what we do in Malaysia. We have what we call three global hubs. One is, of course, our headquarters in Austin, Texas, US. The second one, we have one in Debrecen, Hungary, in Europe. And the third one is here in Penang, Malaysia. We have operations in over 50 countries, but we have these three places where we have hub of our operations. So we have our hardware development center. We have been here for 10 years. Because of the success we have, we just announced last year we are actually going to expand and start a software R&D center. So from hardware, we are bringing in software also. We are manufacturing. We are building some of the most sophisticated instruments in the world, in this factory. Of course, we have our shared service centers of IT, finance, procurement, and other sales and marketing shared, services. So that's what we do out of Penang. We have around 1,000 employees here in Malaysia. So let's go to the next topic about what is a VUCA World. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about this. And the next slide, we really talk about what it means. VUCA stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. Now, I've been in business, in my career around over 25 years now. And if you go back into the 90s and the early 2000s, we seem to be living in a different world. The world is humming along. Things are progressing positively. And every 5 to 8 years, we get a crisis, a major crisis. And we rally around, and the governments and the countries and the humanity itself will figure out a way, and we move forward, right? In the 90s, we had the currency crisis in ASEAN. Early 2000s, we had the .com, bubble, and then we go into 2010, 2009, we had the great industrial recession. But now fast forward to today, the last 5-6 years, it looks like there is a crisis every day, and it's multiple crises. You open the newspaper or the news portal, there is something blaring at you, breaking news, and that is challenging, our comfort zone. Let's look at a few examples. Next slide, please. So, 4-5 years ago, we had Brexit, right? That really upended the world order. We are supposed to be bringing barriers down, right? It's a indication of the ultra nationalism that we are seeing in a lot of countries around the world. We have gone from an year of after the Cold War, the barriers coming down. Suddenly those barriers are starting to come up. And we led that into the U.S.-China tensions. It started off as trade, but it has, blown up into, a whole lot more than that. And that suddenly the world is split again into two. And if that wasn't worse, we got hit with this COVID-19, situation. It's a once in what you call 100 years. The worst health crisis before that is the Spanish flu. And then what is unique about COVID is that we have had health crises before. We had SARS, we had MERS, a lot of different things. And we have had economic crisis before, the industrial recession, the currency crisis, the .com issue. But today we have two of them together. We have an economic and health crisis happening at the same time. Okay, and then on top of that, there is this ongoing technology disruption, and I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about that. Today, that it's actually not bad. Some of this is good, but in this world of all these crises, it is volatile, it is ambiguous, and there is less, less clarity on where we are going. The technology is also adding to the issue. And I think I had one more bubble if you hit the mouse. If we can, yeah, there you go. And we are waiting for what's the next thing, right? There is this fear that that this is not it. There is something else coming up. If you can go to the next slide, please. So what you talk about, in a VUCA world is that all of this is happening at the same time. It's just not that it's not volatile. There is uncertainty. There is, we in business, we can't predict what is going to happen in 3 months. We can't predict what's happening in 6 months. We live in a world, we thrive on some certainty, and that's gone away. You have complexity I just talked about. It's just not an economic crisis. It's just not a health crisis. It's the two. We have to save livelihoods. We have to save lives, and then we have to, save livelihoods too. So how do you balance the two? We all are in quarantine, sitting at home. The economy is not working, and that is also not good, for humanity. And then there is this ambiguity. Things are just not clear what is going to happen tomorrow. So the VUCA world is right smack in the middle of this. It's all happening at the same time. Next slide, please. So we have a choice, as leaders in our business, leaders in our community, leaders in academic. We can just throw up and say we are victim and complain, or we can take charge. And there are a few things what we can do, to navigate this very turbulent, VUCA environment. Next slide, please. The first one is about, getting out of our comfort zone. Okay, we all have our comfort zone, right? We are we know how to operate. We know there is predictability. There's a little bit of certainty into that. And when all this hits us, the first thing that comes up is fear. Now we need to recognize that is normal for us human beings. It's normal to fear. Okay, you cannot say, oh, don't be fearful. that's not real. The trick is, how do you transcend from that fear into learning really fast? Okay, how do you deal with the challenge and the problem, and so that you can get past the fear and start back into your growth storm, and that might be the new, what we call the new normal. One of the things is that you learn fast, try to keep up. That's what one of the things that I was trying to do as we were hit with this crisis is that, what does it mean? For the first time, I had to go and learn a lot about the virus itself and what is happening, right? Because we need to protect our employees while we are operating, and we got to understand what is going on. As you learn, doors will open up for you, and new opportunities, come up. So learning fast, that's the first thing. Also, we cannot, fear failure at this time, because if you do, you will be frozen. You will be in paralysis mode, unable to move. So you have to make decisions fast and move. When you do that, there will be failure. And I tell my team, it's not the failure that is going to define us. It is how you respond to those failures is going to, respond to us. The courage and the conviction and the integrity in which we feed for failures really brings your team, together. Leads to a can-do attitude, right? Well, how can you make sure that you have faith forward? Yeah, this doesn't work. What happened? Why? What do we need to do different? And then as you grow into the growth zone, you'll see that it'll actually become opportunities for you, because you can be the change agent. Now you have the opportunity to be in front of the parade and wave the flag. And that's what I mean about being the change agent. And that's a skill that you will see that the people who are getting ahead, even in today's VUCA world, are the people with that, with that skill. Next slide, please. The second thing we talk about is the high-performing team. And this is evergreen. You need to assemble a team of people around you that is excellent. High performance, works very well together, collaborate. There is high amount of trust. When you have that, whatever crisis comes at you, they will figure out a way to come together. And it is not 1 + 1 = 2. You really get 1 + 1 = 5. The power of, and it's just not teams. There is a difference between a team and a high-performing team. You got to hire the right people. You have to have trust, within those team members. A couple of examples. I'm sure, I don't know how many of you relate to Formula One. There's so much focus on the car and the driver, but the people who really understand knows that it is a real strong, high-performing team that'll get the driver across the finish line on any given day. Of course, here in Malaysia, the 1992 Thomas Cup, right? The success there. I was talking to, of course, I was not in Malaysia at this time, but I was talking to some of my Malaysian, colleagues, and they were telling me that there was no superstar in that team. There is, there is no Ronaldo, in that, team. But what brought them together is their teamwork, and the performance and the trust that they had that got them to the victory. Next slide, please. And the last thing is about learning to scale. We talked about there is risk, there is complexity. And in our business world, there is a lot of cross-functional integration. We really cannot look at manufacturing by itself. Manufacturing needs to work with supply chain and product design and sales and marketing. You got to bring together. You cannot be in a silo mentality. You got to break down those silos. You got to bring your people together so that, we can manage the complexity and the risk. And you as a leader need to elevate your performance, right? People are looking at you for leadership, how do you respond, to the crisis is very important, and you have to learn new skills. I call it being scalable because suddenly you got this cross-functional team of people that you got to bring together to achieve the same objective, right? You're not talking about beating the objectives. What you did last year, this year, you need an expanded team of people because of the complexity of the solution. So you got to think big, and what comes into mind is critical thinking. A lot of times we get bogged down in very complex execution. We make procedures and processes extremely complex. And once in a while, you got to step back and say, why? Why are we doing that? Why do we make this lot of, so cumbersome? And you'll see that what we need to do is that upfront put a lot of complex thinking, right? You have to get your team together, really think through what you're trying to object, but really grow out, simple execution so people really understand, you peel the onions, for that. So here, there are a few things, that, from my experience and from NI's experience that we are learning and trying to learn fast in today's, VUCA world. Next slide, please. Now, I talked about one of the issues, right? The crises as the technology disruption, and while it's a disruption in the long term, I believe it is for the good. And there are some mega trends that is driving, this technology changes. If you look at our first industrial revolution, it happened in the 18th century. Mankind has been around for tens and thousands of years. And it took that long, right? 100,000 years, to get us to the first industrial revolution. And from there, we went to the second industrial revolution, after the Second World War. It took 150 years, right? And then we've had the third industrial revolution, which was driven first by the computer, the personal computer, and then the internet. And that was around 20, 30 years. And now we are in the fourth industrial revolution. And we didn't even notice, that the short gap between the third and the fourth. And we won't even know when we get into the fifth. People are already talking we are in the fifth industrial revolution. We'll have to wait, several more years. It's a continuation of the fourth, and if it is really a fifth. The point here is that, there is things are happening really, really fast. Okay, and we got to adapt. And the world is when I talk about the changing fast. And when I talk about, the VUCA world here, it's that even if you look at the third industrial revolution, first it was a PC that drove a lot of, efficiencies, productivity, and then came the internet. But there was some predictability to that. Okay, we all need to, get around and, get well versed in the, in the computers and also the internet. But in today's environment, there are so many things happening at the same time. And what we call is that in the industry, there is convergence of technology. But before that, let's look at some of the mega trends, that is driving this convergence. Next slide, please. So here are some of the technology mega trends that is going on. I don't, this is not supposed to be all inclusive. If you try to be, it is so, so huge. And putting some of the ones that we in our industry can see it. We got 5G, and then we in the transportation in the automobile, there is two major revolution that is going on at the same time. One is the electrification, right? The internal combustion engine, which has been around for the last 150 years, is going to get obsolete. I don't know how, whether it's in the next 20 years or 50 years, but it is going to go away. And we are going to have electric, batteries. That is major. And it's not going to get us 150 years to get to that real good electric engine. It's already happening. and it's going to be very fast. At the same time, we've got autonomous driving. That's going to revolutionize, it's a world about sensors, that will drive a lot of, technology. And talking about convergence, what is making autonomous driving, better is 5G, right? So you really cannot look at these mega trends by itself. You got the cloud, right? That's driving a lot of innovations. You got artificial intelligence, IoT, Industry 4.0, and of course, data analytics. And data analytics is possible because of two other mega trends: the cloud and artificial intelligence, right? That gives us the capability. This is what we mean by convergence. There are so many of these mega trends, and they are all converging. And that leads to a lot of uncertainty, in terms of, whether what you're trying to invest or bet on. It's very difficult, to do that. So what is NI doing in this environment? Next slide, please. Well, sorry, I missed, before I get to that, the COVID, interestingly, while it is very bad and it is a real hard crisis, we have seen that when we have crises in the past, it'll actually accelerate adoption. Okay, so we are anticipating that. That is also happening in today's world. For example, today everything is virtual. Look, in normal times, I would have come down to UTM and we would have a, meeting, physical meeting, to talk about this, and we are doing this virtually. And that has a lot of challenges. It is not just being face to face. You cannot have interactions. Like at this time, I cannot see the audience, and there's no way I'm not able to gauge, in terms of the interest of the topic, or what the response, for the people, or take questions, real time. We can. It's a pain. So this will accelerate this technology. We already have Zoom and a lot of these other things that is happening, but this crisis will accelerate adoption of technology. So one thing we think that'll accelerate is 5G. It's already happening. Companies and countries are not backing away in terms of the investing in their infrastructure on 5G. So that will actually add to the confusion and the complexity out there. So what is NI, doing in this environment? Next slide, please. What we are trying to do is that we have to position the company leveraging the mega trends, and not all of them, right? If you chase everything, you're going to end up with nothing. In today's world, there's a lot of niche specialization going on. So looking at our products, our platform, our core strategic vision, and our purpose to engineer ambitiously, we have identified 4 industries that we are really going, focusing on. We still will help our customers. We have partners who will, help us, with a lot of the other industries. But this is where we believe we can really make a difference. Aerospace and defense, the pace at which, what is technology is coming into the aerospace world. And what is happening with SpaceX. And yesterday there was news. UAE is spending a mission to Mars. So there is a lot of opportunity there, and we believe our software and hardware centric approach creates a lot of differentiation. Semiconductor, 5G is driving the next generation revolution in semiconductor in all aspects. The technology itself, the manufacturing technology itself, everything is going to get get through some transformation in the next 3 to 5 years. I talked about transportation, right? You got electrification, and you got autonomous driving happening at the same time, and of course wireless and Internet of Things. So these are some of the areas that we are doubling down and focusing on to make sure that we come out ahead in this VUCA world. That's all I had for you today. Hopefully it was a little bit of insight and to all of you how we in the business world are dealing with a very challenging environment today. Thank you very much.
To Mr. Raj for your topic today. So, all right, now we are open our if you have question and answer, and you would like to share their thought and idea with you, Mr. Raj. Okay, all right. All right. Okay. The first question is coming from Alan Su. Good morning, Rajesh. Over the years, how would you say your leadership style has evolved? And in contrast, is there any guiding principle in your leadership that has not changed though?
Great question. Great question. So the one thing, that I personally had to change myself is that one of the things I talked about is learning to scale. When for example, I've been I joined NI 25 years ago in our corporate office in the US. And when we decided to set up a facility here, I was given the opportunity to come down and lead that. And what I found is that when you come here, you start hiring people, a small team of people. And I was a managing director at that time, and we had 20 people. And today we have 1,000 people. The job is the same, but over the last 10 years, the complexity has gone up. The volatility has gone up. The risk has gone up. So I really had to step up, and learn some of the skills all over again in terms of learning to scale. Because when you have a small amount of people, you can directly go and influence them. When you have 1,000 people, you really cannot connect them with them directly. So what you got to have is that you have to develop a team of leadership that is equally passionate and equally strong. And really, it's a power of, the exponential power that you got to have 25 great leaders who are going out and doing the exact same thing. So that's one thing I would say I myself had to learn, challenge myself, is to learning to scale. What has not changed is our core values of, of what causes a good team, of the trust, the focus and the collaboration. We always talk about, we need to be able to sacrifice our personal goals for the common good of the team and the organization and the company. That has not changed. That has been a winning approach for me 25 years ago when I joined NI, and it is still the same, today.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, all right. From Zalufruin, such a wonderful man. Okay, she gave you thumbs up. All right, then the next question coming from Shahidah Sulaiman, one of our lecturer from Faculty of Computing. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for an insightful sharing. Despite having technology megatrends shaping the future, countries around the world embrace the technology at their own pace. We still see the gaps between urban and rural areas. For example, 5G adoption is still limited in rural areas. Even if it is available, it is probably not affordable. Do you think it is possible for ISP cells to offer simple 5G to rural people, mainly during COVID-19, will still achieve the ROI? What do you think, Raj?
It really helped me. I don't remember if you saw one of the slides I had about technology adoption, right? You got the early adopters, and then you start going into the technology becoming broad-based, and then you normalize the curve where the whole world comes into, accepting that. So that is true of everything. Look at the computers. We talk about that, in any corner of the world that you go, right? Any of the kampungs you go in Malaysia, you go in there and you go into a house, you will see a kid in there with a laptop. So that is adoption, of the masses. So it will happen. It is. We need to be careful not to look at these mega trends that is driving technology, not in like a 1 year span or 2 year span. Look at Africa, for example. We all had, I don't remember, some of you might be young, but when I, started working, we all used to have connected landlines for phones. We didn't have the cell phones. And it was extremely difficult for that technology, to grow in Africa. But look at today, they actually skipped that technology of landline. The cell phone technology came in, and you go anywhere in Africa, and here is a continent that is really poor. And there are some parts of that continent that are cleared, clean drinking water is still a problem. But you go there, everybody has a cell phone, right? And that's what we talk about, mass adoption. And I believe for the most disruptive and promising of these technologies, it will happen. 5G will definitely, there will be economies of scales. Yes, you have to start in the urban centers, but for example, you really need autonomous driving to work. You need connectivity, right? You need to be connected, not just a vehicle. It has to be vehicle to vehicle. Cars needs to talk to cars, and they need to talk to infrastructure. So you have to scale. So it may not happen overnight, but I do believe that there will be economies of scale. And if you look at in increments of 5 years and 10 years, absolutely, there will be change and there will be ROI.
Yes, I do agree that we have to upgrade our facilities for 5G. And Mr. For the questions, Raj, thanks for sharing. Can you please share with us how manufacturing companies deal with global supply disruption during COVID-19 pandemic?
Wow, we still are figuring that out. I wish I had a answer. This is what I talk about, the comfort zone. All of us just literally woke up one morning and said, hang on a second, China is shutting down. This is not real. And China is the factory, is the factory of the world. So we really need to get past that, the fear, and really look at the options, that we had. The first focus was around, making sure that our own factories are able to work, and here in Malaysia, our first priority was that, okay, what about our facility? This is a time I want to give kudos to the Malaysian government. You see the news and see how bad the news is in many of the countries, especially in US and Europe. I believe Malaysia handled this, very well. The government really understood that balance. Okay, we got to serve people's lives, but at the same time, we got to, keep the livelihood. So they work with us. We, adopted some very good, great, safe working practices, and we were able to get back in, business really fast. We were able to protect our employees. That's one of the things. We still are not of this crisis. We could have a second wave, but one of the things we are really proud of is that while we were getting back up to our capacity, we were able to keep all our employees, safe. But then we are looking at alternates. Okay, like for example, a lot of our suppliers before we moved to China, we had sources in the US and Europe. So we are going back and saying, what is their, capacity, and then you have to prioritize, what really, what really matters. One of the things that we do in our design process, and again, what you do, today will help or deter you prepare for the crisis 10 years from the road. So one of the things that we did is that we use commercial off the shelf technology. We are not dependent on a few suppliers. If one doesn't work, we can switch. So we were rapidly alternating our wherever possible our raw material so that we can keep our supply chain going. But having said that, this is the one I will admit I do not have a clear answer. We are still figuring it out. There has been major disruption. We have been very fortunate to make sure our customers were not impacted, but this is by no means is not done.
Yep. All right. The next question coming from Dr. Sharifah Kamila Said Yusof. What are your expectations when hiring a fresh graduate student? How do you seek for improvement?
Thank you for asking the question. This is constantly on our on our mind, And this is what we talk to, by the way, UTM is one of the schools is a number 2 school in Malaysia. We get all our engineering graduates in. We have a very great collaboration. And, the thing we like about UTM is how UTM is trying to be at the edge in terms of all these, technology. The biggest thing we are looking for is their thought process. Okay, you got your grades, right? We need, absolutely, it doesn't go without saying, we need excellent grades, right? We need really smart people. But what we are looking for is that what are they able to apply that knowledge that they have? And this is where we come and talk to universities about, let's be more industry focused, very practical focused, very application focused. So that's one thing that we constantly look for. For example, we have a robotics competition that we do for final year engineering students for all of Malaysia. Right now, it's only 5 universities in Malaysia. Hopefully, we are hoping we can go big. We are talking to the few agencies in Malaysian government to expand that. UTM happens to be one of those universities. And by the way, the UTM team won the first and second place last year. So the reason we emphasize is it's not about teach them about robotics. I tell the kids, I hope you learn some new software and hardware along the way. But what we are really hoping is that we are bringing the mechanical engineer, we are bringing the electrical engineer, and we are making the software engineer, all of them together to work, collaboratively, how they can, their knowledge, share it, and advance the team. Especially the mechanical and electrical engineers, you have to learn something about software. You cannot just say, I'm a hardware guy, I don't want to know anything about software. Software is somebody different. That world has gone. You got to know about, software. And similarly, software people, right? If you have an advantage of knowing the hardware, you've got a leg up, So that's what, we're missing. And that's what that industry, university collaboration is very important. Universities cannot do that, all by yourself, because you have your core about getting the fundamentals right. So we got to come together, and we don't have the time and the energy and the bandwidth to go teach them the fundamentals. So this is where that collaboration is very, very important.
True. Indeed. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for your response to our audience. And I thought that Miss Peg, if we have questions, yeah. So the question from Dr. Sharifah, the last question for you today. And also, thank you so much for your time, this part of your schedule, your practice time with us, and about it. And thank you our viewers, audience, for the passion and interest in our webinar series. It's always a great pleasure for us for having our number of viewers for our industry. And with that, I would like to pass back to Rebecca Dekan for closing remarks. Over to you, Dekan.
Thank you, Murni. Just want to say thank you to Mr. Raj for accepting our invitation to speak at our UTM Engineering Captain of Industry. It is certainly an honor to have you with us. And I must say to all the audience, we have global audience for this webinar series. I must say that Mr. Raj, through NI, has contributed close to about around 252,000 to UTM. Via their embedded systems and software consisting of LabVIEW software, 30 MyRio units, and 2 Elvis sets. So all these are from NI, and the estimated worth of this contribution is 252,000 Malaysian ringgit. So I must say thank you to Mr. Raj, thank you to NI for this contribution and for accepting our invitation to speak at UTM Engineering Captain of Industry. You are certainly our captain. So to all of you watching this webinar, thank you for watching. We will have more webinars on Captain of Industry. Do stay with us, stay tuned. Until then, thank you for now. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Stay safe and stay happy. Keep distancing. Bye. Okay, dah habis. Okay.